So I'm in charge today, and you're in the hot seat.
That's right, yes. So what we're doing?
So I've got a list of questions for you.
This is a Q&A session.
Q&A session hosted by Mrs. Sale. Interview in the hot seat.
I'm a bit nervous because I haven't seen...
Sale, and you don't know what the questions are.
No, I don't.
So answer honestly.
Okay, Mrs. Sale.
Okay.
Before we start, why aren't you in the video?
Because it's not about me, it's about you. And besides, I haven't had my roots done for 7 weeks. Right, let's go.
Okay.
What's your happiest memory from when you're out with your camera?
So I think just after I went full-time, I was down on the edge of Windermere, the top of Windermere by Ambleside.
Yeah.
I think it's called Waterhead.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I was out there and I was doing some... I was taking some shots of the boats there. It wasn't a particularly nice day. And then I heard a plop in the water. Plop. And I looked round. I couldn't see what it was. And then in front of me, an otter.
Oh, wow.
Swam right out in front of me. And it just swam in front of me. Happy as Larry. And he had his head out the water. And he could see me. And he was as happy as Larry. And then he must have swum, I don't know, 20 metres. And then he disappeared. And I've never seen an otter in the wild, and I love otters. So that was a pretty special moment. And it was like a Wednesday or something. And it was after I'd gone full time. So it's one of those things where I wouldn't have been.
You're out and you're like, oh, I'm having such a lovely time.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And
so
this is my job.
that was a pretty special moment. I won't forget that in a hurry.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, so the best piece of advice I've ever received. Well, one thing that springs to mind. Somebody once told me that the best thing that you can do in life is to marry someone better than you and then try to match them every day. And I just wish I'd taken that piece of advice. From a photography point of view, I guess... I guess early on, the best kind of piece of advice I was given very early on when I first started out was just to take lots of photos. We get into this position, particularly landscape photographers, where we think, well, if the light's crap, we won't bother because we're not going to get good pictures. And what that does is that kind of limits your opportunities to take photos. And so the best piece of advice I was ever given was by an older, more experienced photographer who just said, just take pictures of everything. Take your camera everywhere and take loads of pictures. And again, it wasn't necessarily something that I followed initially. But yeah, that's probably the best bit of advice I've ever had.
Just keep going.
Keep taking photos, yeah.
Who would you like to collaborate with?
Who, on YouTube?
Yes.
On YouTube, okay. So I've done quite a lot of collaborations, and they're really hard work. Because you're working with somebody that you don't know and very well. So the easiest person for me to collaborate is Julian because we're mates, we know each other very well. But I think probably the one guy I think I would really like to collaborate with and work with is Mark Denny, who's a photographer out in the US, and he just seems such a genuine guy, such a nice guy. And he is about a year or so much further down the line in going full time, and I'd like to collaborate with him. I also owe him a big favour because he gave me a big shout out at Christmas, and I had a big jump in subscribers. But he seems like a really nice guy. I think probably the one disadvantage I think that there would be to doing a collaboration with Mark is he's a bit handsome. I think you'd quite like him. Although he's got a beard, you don't like beards, do you? No. He's a bit handsome. He's a bit too handsome. So maybe not Mark.
Oh, I hope he's listening. What's the worst idea you've ever had?
The worst idea I've ever had. I don't know if you'll remember this. It was just after I started with the business, and I was thinking about ways to bring something kind of unique to the business and what have you. And I've always wanted to work more and more with women, with females, because it's such a male-dominated thing. And I think that a lot of workshops and a lot of one-to-ones can be quite intimidating because it's for ladies. And so I did have the idea of kind of taking on and mentoring somebody and getting a younger female photographer to join forces. And I remember suggesting this to you, and you, I think your response was something along the lines of, if you think you're going to spend all day out on the fields with some dolly bird, you've got another thing coming. So I think that's probably my worst idea. I mean, I think from a business point of view, still think it's a great idea. But from maybe from a personal marriage perspective,
I've vetoed that.
you vetoed that idea.
idea.
It was a crap idea.
Name one thing that people don't know about you.
Oh, one thing that people don't know. I mean, I'm pretty honest and pretty open. I mean, I don't share an awful lot of our life.
No.
But, I mean, that's a difficult one.
There's no pass in this.
There's no pass. I can't say.
You don't get the opportunity to pass. It's not like Mastermind.
I guess probably the one thing that perhaps people wouldn't expect from me is that I have quite a good singing voice.
Oh yeah.
And when I was younger, I sang in the church choir, and I did kind of solos in school productions and things like that. And so I've still got quite a good singing voice, and it's something that I take for granted. And I know Mum, bless her, she doesn't sing very well. She'd love to sing, and she has always found it quite frustrating that it's come so easily to me, and that it doesn't do. And I know you also struggle with tunes. You love a good sing song, don't you?
I love a good sing
What
song.
you lack in talent, you make up for in enthusiasm. But to me, it just sort of comes really easily, and it's just one of those things that you kind of take for I take for granted.
You're very blessed.
Yeah, maybe.
You're very blessed. What is your biggest ambition?
At the minute, right now, in this very minute in time, I mean, I think probably not losing the roof that is currently over our head. So that's if I'm still doing what I'm doing in 2 years' time, and we're making enough money, continue living here, I think that would be all right. Yeah.
Why do you like landscape photography? Why can we never capture what we can see as well? It's a double-barreled question.
Why do I like landscape photography? I mean, I think for me, I'm not very good at eloquently getting my point across in many respects. I can't. So my love of the Lake District came before both of our careers, and it was important to us to live here than anything else. That was the most important thing. And you know, I have this great deep love for the Lake District, and I remember I was chatting to a mate of mine, and he was trying to get me to explain what I liked about the Lake District, and I couldn't put it into words what the place means to me and why I like it so much. And so I think that's where photography comes in. It's much easier for me to show someone this is what I love about the Lake District than it is for me to put it into words. And I think that's probably one of the most important things, aside from the obvious. You know, I can get out and enjoy the countryside, and I'm not kind of an outdoorsy kind of person and that kind of stuff.
And for the amateur, why, I always say to you, why can we never capture what we see?
I think. So I don't really know. It's been such. So I think what you're talking about is when you get your iPhone and you sort of wave it around and you take an image, and then you
stand there and click.
You go. I think it's probably because when you're actually looking at a scene and you're looking at a landscape, there's so much to it. There's so much to see, and there's so much more than just the visual element. There's the sounds and the smells, and you know all of that sensory kind of stuff as well. That helps you form that picture in your mind. And of course, when you're looking at a photograph, it is just one of those things. It's just a kind of visual element, and I think that goes some way to do it. I think most photographers. I don't think any photograph really accurately represents what it is actually like to be in a particular place. I think it's always been a bit of a kind of a suggestion of what it's like to be there, because it doesn't have all of the stuff, I think. See, remember when I said I wasn't very good at explaining?
That's it.
There you go. That's a good example of it. Yeah.